welcome back to Look with Both Ways with David and Wes, pragmatic conversations about all things transportation. Today is our end of year extravaganza, as we're calling it, where we're not going to follow the regular protocol. We're going to go through different sort of funny topics, serious topics, best of the year, worst of the year, and all sort of various things. How you doing today, David?
I'm good. Are we going to even introduce ourselves this time, or are we just throwing everything out the window?
I mean, do people not know us by now, or are we starting?
No one really says we have they do seem like they understand the difference between our voices, as far as I can. I've not gotten that as a complaint, but in case anyone's unclear, this is David speaking, senior fellow at the MIT, blah, 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 blah. Go ahead.
I just feel like if they're listening to the end of year show, they probably have listened to one before.
I don't know. I hear from people who'd like pick up on episode 9 and go from there. So I make no assumptions.
All right. That's fair. So, all right. I'm Wes Marshall. I'm professor of civil engineering at University of Colorado, Denver.
And I'm David Zipper, noting that we record these live on live stream so that you get to hear all of the sausage being made just like that. Back to you, Wes.
All right. No, that's good. That's good. So we have a long list of sort of categories, awards, best and worst, year and transportation stories that we're going to go through. So I guess without further ado, I wanted to get to that because we have a lot of fun ones. And the first one, we had a few rapid fire ones to get us started. So the first one I see on my list, correct me if I'm wrong, is the most ridiculous transportation headlines of the year.
Yes, that is on mine as well. Why don't you go first, Wes?
Well, I found a few of them here. Like, there's the ones about like a bicyclist in dark clothing, fatally hit by a car. There's one about a driver claims he was teleported into a stolen BMW before he got into a crash. But
but you couldn't choose just one. That's what you're saying, basically.
Yeah, but I whittled it down to one from Rolling Stone from in July said, "Man afraid to ride subway named head of NASA."
Now, that's actually like a good headline, though. That you can't make fun of that. That's actually really good.
It's also ridiculous, though. Like the fact that happened, right? The reality of that is a bit ridiculous.
It's harsh but fair, I think, is what the phrase goes. The one I had was from the Wall Street Journal, where the headline was, "New noise cameras pit drivers of fast cars against their neighbors." I'm like, is it really the noise cameras that are pitting the drivers of fast cars against their neighbors? Or were the neighbors already furious because they're getting woken up by these people blasting through like local neighborhoods at however many miles per hour with the exhaust going, what have you? I don't know that the noise cameras were really to blame for that one.
No, I totally agree. And that, that I guess is misleading at best headline. Ridiculous.
Well, it just misses the essence of noise cameras. They're just like enforcing existing quality of life rules. I get angry about it because noise cameras are one of my beloved technologies. So that's what I choose. All right, Wall Street Journal, you messed up.
That is a good one. All right. So number 2 was the biggest transportation related laugh of the year.
Oh, I have a good one for this.
Okay, go ahead.
Mine is from Australia, where you just were.
Yeah.
Where I think it's called the Lord Mayor of Melbourne, a guy named Nick Rees, if I'm pronouncing that right. He wrote a whole article arguing that we should create laws in cities to require pedestrians to keep to the left. And if they don't do so, get them a ticket. Basically forcing pedestrians to have the sidewalk should be divided into slow zones and faster zones, because that's how we'll really create safety on our city streets.
I will say,
thank you, Lord Mayor Rees.
When I went back, I obviously remembered that the cars drive on the left side instead of the right side, so I was very careful crossing the street. But I had kind of forgotten that pedestrians do too. So when I was walking up and down sidewalks, I had to be like, oh wait, and I was scooting over all the time. So I probably would have got ticketed a couple times by the Lord Mayor of Melbourne.
Yeah, well, you were playing with fire. That's all I'm going to say.
All right.
Thank you, Mayor Rees. Back to you.
Mine is not even a real headline. This is one from The Onion, and it kind of marries two of the things I love, which is transportation and basketball. It's a headline about after Luka Doncic got traded from Dallas to Los Angeles. So homesick Luka Doncic gazes longingly at photo of barren Dallas office park. And it's a really short article. Let me just read this.
Go ahead.
In the aftermath of a stunning trade that saw the point guard move from the Texas city to Los Angeles, a homesick Luka Doncic was reportedly spotted Wednesday gazing longingly at a photo of a barren Dallas office park. "Oh, to be back among those absolutely desolate and soulless business complexes," said Doncic, explaining that he yearned to again experience the industrial sprawl of the city that prioritized uninspired concrete structures and highways over green spaces and pedestrian-friendly walkways. "Don't get me wrong, I appreciate Los Angeles' lack of any discernible character, and the similarly congested traffic has made the transition so much easier. But it doesn't hold a candle to Dallas. The Pacific Ocean will never compare to a man-made pond that's been dyed blue."
Oh, God. I missed that one. Thank you for bringing it to my attention. It's a little on the nose, but
yeah,
harsh but fair. What can I say?
I enjoyed that one. All right, so number 3, it was I called it the Really Awards. So the worst transportation thing you saw this year.
Yeah, I want to give that award to the American Secretary of Transportation, Sean Duffy. Well done, sir, for really mounting a multi-month campaign against rainbow-colored crosswalks. This is his road safety strategy of choice. The only thing I've ever heard him talk about related to road safety strategy is why we must get rid of rainbow-colored crosswalks. Not because they're LGBTQ coded, but because they're unsafe. And it doesn't really matter that there's no research showing this at all. This is apparently what USDOT has decided is the single greatest street safety challenge that we have, Wes.
Yeah, I think one of the Congress people should have followed up, like during the congressional interview stage. Like he said, his biggest priority was to fix the safety problem. Nobody really asked what you mean by that. But that's the road he went down.
Rainbow-colored crosswalks. That's what he meant, apparently.
All right, so I found a bunch of articles that are, there's one from Connecticut, like, will widening I-95 in Stamford help traffic? The Connecticut DOT is considering it. So there's that kind of stuff. But I ended up finding a PSA campaign by the Alaska DOT where the idea of it is that Bigfoot wears reflective clothing, so you should too. So they have these amazing visuals of Bigfoot wearing like reflective vests, reflective like suspenders, like weird stuff. And they're trying to tell you to get out there and like be safe, be seen day or night, just like the Yeti Bigfoot.
God, state DOTs really they devote so much effort and brain power to creating these ads. And then they give each other awards for them, like GHSA, the sort of Association of State Highway Officials, gives each other like awards for like witty commercials. And there's never any studies that show any effect whatsoever. It's truly bizarre.
The one from a Pennsylvania DOT, at the end of it, they said, make sure you wear your ID and carry your cell phone. Like, so when you do get killed, we can figure out who you are. That last part was unwritten. But
No, I remember I actually wrote a story a while ago where there was one in the South Dakota Highway Safety Agency create a whole series of videos about Jim Reaper, not the Grim Reaper, Jim Reaper, who comes and gets you when you're going to drive drunk. And whatever, it's a stupid ad and it's whatever. But what I tried to ask GHSA, which gave them an award for creativity in road safety. I was like, so on what basis did you decide this was effective and worthy of an award? And the response goes, it was 4 years ago. We can't remember anymore. I'm like, great job, guys. Good.
All right, fair. All right. Number 4 on our list of the first category is the surprising or the maybe surprising transportation hill you're willing to die on award.
Yeah. So for this one, I turned this sort of into like, really, this is your priority was how I read this category. And for me, this is sort of a late arriving candidate for this award. I'm going to give it to Donald Trump because I never expected him, of all people, to be talking in the White House about legalizing K cars. where the hell did that come from? You know what I'm talking about? Like just
I
like a
do,
week
yeah.
ago, whereas like the front page of the New York Times were legalizing mini cars and K cars because apparently he was in Japan and was like, I love these little things. Why don't we do that? And so Duffy told him that you can snap your fingers and legalize them, which is not true. You have to actually create a whole new classification for vehicles to use them on public roads. But more than that, I just am frankly shocked that Donald Trump is the first president to say, I'm sure, anything about K cars, let alone suggest that they should be legal. So that's my award.
All right. That's a good one. I sort of read the question a little bit differently. I took it more internally, like the surprising hill that I'm willing to die on.
Oh, okay.
Like,
Is whiskey always everywhere, no other beverage ever?
I have a beer tonight, but that's okay.
Okay, fine.
No, but it was actually I had a hard time kind of coming up with one. I was like, I think a lot of the hills related to transportation that I'm willing to die on, people already know. It's already sort of out there. I don't know. The one that I kind of thought that was maybe a little surprising was that traffic congestion is actually a good thing.
Oh, so this is your hill willing to die on. You like congestion. Yeah,
Right,
that was, yeah. I've heard you say that before, and it's a striking comment.
I mean, I usually say a little traffic congestion is a good thing. Like, it's good for safety. It means your city is doing well, because if you have no traffic congestion, your city probably kind of sucks. So trying to solve traffic congestion isn't really what we want, but that's what everyone's trying to do.
Yeah, makes sense.
Right.
I don't actually disagree with that. I think you said to me once, the only cities that have no congestion are places nobody wants to be in. Which was a good line. I sometimes quote you on that when I'm talking to other people.
All right, so that was part one. Part two is the best and worst of 2025. And the first one is, I think, up your alley. So what's your favorite transportation policy of the year?
No, I think this has to be, this is like genuinely an obvious winner to me. It has to be congestion pricing in Manhattan. Like, we finally have done it in the US, and it's succeeding in all the ways that people who follow congestion pricing expected, and popularity is rising. And to her credit, Governor Hochul of New York stuck to her guns, told Trump to go blank himself when he tried to shut it down, and she seems to have won. So I say huzzah. Like let us hope this is the beginning of broader trends where we can price urban roads, because a lot of good could come from this. So here's to congestion pricing in New York.
So I knew you were going to say that, so I crossed it off of my list, and I tried to come up with something different.
You could just agree with me. Can't let that happen.
No, I do agree with you, but it's not that fun if we both just say the same thing for categories. So the one I put was parking policy, and how that has been changing in a lot of cities, including Denver. So Denver, we had no parking minimums in downtown for a while now, but we got rid of them citywide, and it has had immediate impacts, and often not where you think. Like, you would think that maybe with new builds, like, we're not building parking, and that, you know, downstream maybe housing's more affordable. But what's been happening, I've noticed, a lot of places that have a parking lot have started repurposing their parking lot for outdoor seating and stuff like that, because they don't have to carry that parking like they used to.
Yeah, no, I actually think it's a really good call. There's a lot of momentum around parking. I'll give Tony Jordan at the Parking Reform Network some credit for drumming up enthusiasm. It's also really cool to see for the first university center that I'm familiar with focusing solely on parking, which is at UCLA, working with Adam Millard-Ball, who is an excellent researcher over there. So it does feel like there's really positive momentum around parking policy in the US. And I think that's a pretty good pick, even though congestion pricing is a bigger deal.
All right, fair. All right, so at the other end of the spectrum, what was your worst transportation policy of the year?
Oh, there are so many. I think I'm going to have to give credit back to our favorite reality star friend, Sean Duffy, because he's got multiple nominations here I think you could go to. But the one I'm going to credit is gutting CAFE, the emission standards for cars, because it really accomplishes several terrible things at once. It will dirty our air. It will, meanwhile, make the auto sector in the U.S. less competitive globally because the rest of the world is not following our path in this way. It's just, and it's also just like wasted effort. There could just be so many things he could be doing to improve our transportation network and make cars genuinely more affordable, and focusing on this is an opportunity cost. So I'm going to say basically getting rid of CAFE is what is the worst policy.
All right. So I had written down the rainbow crosswalks here, but since we already talked about that, I'm going to come up with something different. And for me, I'm going to harken back to a proposal we had submitted to NIH, the National Institute of Health, and it was a road safety related proposal. And it did not get funded, but the response we got back is that road safety is not a health impact. Whoa. That accidents are accidents. It's not something we can really do anything about. So they no longer, like historically, NIH has funded transportation related research, but that's really no longer the case, especially if it's related to getting killed on the roads, which I would argue is bad for your health.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of like a broader theme, which I did not include in my list of best and worst of the year, which is the just like the gutting of transportation research. And the biases that have been introduced by this administration at NIH, at TRB, it's really disturbing, and I think it's still working itself out. But that's not a bad call.
Maybe we can talk a little bit more about that in the next episode if we tape that around the TRB time. So we'll see. All right, yeah. Third on the list for this category is City of the Year. So I guess for good or for bad, let's start with the good side.
Oh, I only have one city because I wasn't sure if that's all I thought I was supposed to do here. So, thank you, listeners, for going along with us as Wes and I share our different interpretations of the categories we're working our way through today. But for me, I actually, in this case, it's a city that is it contains multitudes, shall we say. Okay. But it is really interesting what's happened there this year, and that's Toronto, Canada, where Wes and I were actually in the spring. Because you have Doug Ford, who is my runner-up for the villain of the year in transportation, has moving to scrap really essential bike lanes in the city. He's already banned automatic cameras across all of Ontario, including Toronto. But you also see the city pushing back and actually finding clever ways of continuing to build bike lanes despite Ford's ban, because that was just a ban on bike lanes that take away a traffic lane. So the city of Toronto is saying, okay, we'll just narrow the traffic lanes and continue to be able to install the bike lanes that we want. So and actually, I think what was particularly funny, there was a social media post, maybe I'll share the link in the show notes, where there was some big gala in Toronto. And a woman came there with a huge gown that had a giant bicycle image on the back of it. And somebody said on Blue Sky, this is such a beautiful dress that Doug Ford has banned it in the province of Ontario. So I'm going to say Toronto is my city of the year for just being a place where there's just been battles this way and that way, really the entire time.
I love it. That's a good answer, because I think for some reason I thought you were going to say Paris.
That's too cliched. Everyone says Paris. No, I'm not going to do it.
All right. That's fair. So I selected Hoboken for the good side, which is boring, but boring might be good in this category. We talked about Hoboken on the podcast a few months ago, but like one of the things I didn't talk about back then was how much I noticed they were prioritizing safety on like the school walking routes. So rather than just having like a school zone or school only hours, it was like all day, every day. And it was way beyond what you would think would be sort of a normal school zone. And eventually it sort of has crisscrossed the whole city. But I think they started with schools, and like the good thing about it is like it wasn't just promises. They actually built it. Like it was actually out there, and they're saving lives. Like they're not giving kids reflective backpacks. They're not doing PSAs. There aren't like crossing guards out there. Like they're just making the streets safe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hoboken has really been like the go-to city for safety advocates for years now. Even like Buttigieg talked about it a lot when he was running USDOT under Biden. So I don't actually think I've ever really toured it the way that you did this year, but it makes sense that you would. It deserves the praise that it gets, shall we say?
Well, I had one on the bad side as well.
Okay.
I guess you didn't. So I went with Houston.
Yeah, that's the obvious one.
Because they're just doubling down on the wrong solutions. They're backtracking on stuff they've actually made safer. And
that's because of the mayor alone, right? They've got a terrible, like, backwards facing mayor, it sounds like, right?
I think he made promises that he would tear out these, road diets that were making streets safer. And it's costing them a ton of money to do it. So it's not like he's doing it to be like fiscally responsible. Like it's crazy. So yeah, that's where I went on that end.
Houston is a sad story. They banned e-scooters.
Yeah.
And it's really sad too, because it was a city making huge progress with Victoria Davis, who I'm sure you know, and I know as well, is running transportation down there, really smart, thoughtful woman. And, it's just hitting reverse.
The Texas DOT is still trying to make the highways bigger in Houston. Like that's still on their agenda.
Yeah. It's my heart goes out to you guys who are in Houston. It's not good what's going on there. It's true. Should we, on a more upbeat level, should we talk about our hero transportation leader of the year?
Yeah.
I guess first on this one?
Sure. So it's definitely not the picture I saw in Time magazine this week of a bunch of AI bros sitting on that beam over in New York City.
I had a feeling, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I thought about folks like Ann Hidalgo. I thought about John O'Lieber, the CEO of MTA, and the congestion charging. I thought I would go a little bit more fundamental and coach Sam Balto in the bike bus.
Wow. Okay. I think a lot of folks won't know who that is. Do you want to explain?
So Sam Balto, like he used to be a PE teacher in Massachusetts, and I knew about him back when he did some traffic calming with a picture of Tom Brady on the sign years and years ago, because I used that in my class because when to do a tactical urbanism experiment. But much more recently, he's become sort of famous or infamous for the bike bus, which is literally. A lot of cities, a lot of schools have like 100 plus kids like biking, like maybe with a few adults to school. I mean, all together it's kind of like a critical mass taking over the streets type thing, but with kids. So much less confrontational.
Did he really do the first one? Is it his?
No. This idea has been around for a while, but as a PE teacher, I think he lives in Portland now.
Yeah.
He started doing it with his school, and he has a big like TikTok following, and it became sort of international news. Like last time I saw him, he had just come back from meeting with Biden at the White House. Like I saw he was biking with Justin Timberlake in one of his bike bus things. Like it's become way bigger. Like he took something that is such a simple idea and he sort of made it something that I see happening in Denver, but you also see happening all over the world.
Well, there's actually two different groups that do it, at least two here in Washington, D.C., where I live. So it is definitely an idea that has caught on. And I think that's a great pick. Someone who probably deserves more credit outside of the bike community. So good choice.
Who do you got?
I have someone better known, Sadiq Khan, the mayor of London. Because I think Hidalgo gets a lot of credit, but Mayor Khan has really done an incredible job in London. And kind of in a fearless way. Huge controversies over low traffic neighborhoods in London. He's never really wavered on supporting them, as best I can tell. He's moving to increase the cost of the congestion charge in London. Oxford Circus is being pedestrianized. And a few months ago, he actually co-authored an op-ed in The Guardian with Anne Hidalgo talking about why those two mayors of Paris and London have experienced such a backlash to climate action and why they're still going. So, I think for whatever reason, he gets a lot less credit than Hidalgo for transforming a global city. But I think that he deserves a lot, and he's done so with a lot of political courage that I frankly wish we could see on this side of the Atlantic. So I'm going to give credit to him.
That's nice. Good job. All right. How about on the other side? The villain of the year.
So
you've already told us your runner-up. So who came in first place?
Yeah, I think I have to give this one to our favorite four-letter friend, Elon Musk. I mean, when was the last time you had someone from the transportation world wreck democracy and civil service?
Yeah.
and whilst concurrently endangering road users with reckless driving technology that is not safe and is mislabeled. But I feel like he's kind of like a crossover breakthrough transportation guy, because that's where he made the bulk of his money. But he's now basically ruining life for so many people that have nothing to do with transportation. So how can I not give him the award?
Yeah, I feel like Sean Duffy made a run this year to try to take over that top
Definitely.
spot. But it's hard to disagree with you that Elon doesn't deserve it. Yeah, and you could actually separate out all various transportation things he's done, whether it's Tesla or the Hyperloop or whatever, and he could win it individually in any of those.
Yeah, he really can. It's sort of like superior awfulness across the board, and I don't really know that anyone else comes close. I mean, Doug Ford is annoying and bad, but against Elon Musk, he looks like a saint. So yeah, Elon, congratulations. You are the worst transportation person of the year.
He does not deserve any more of our time today. So let's move on to what's the next category? The most overhyped transportation technology.
I think you know what I'm going to say here, don't you?
I don't know. I had a couple things in mind that you might have said, so I'll let you go.
Robotaxis.
Okay.
They're just so dominating the discourse. And we're talking about deployments in city after city after city that amount to like 50 robotaxis, maybe up to 100, 150. And it's very clear that each of these deployments is heavily subsidized. It's not clear how safe they are. And for this technology to really scale, it's going to require costs to come way, way down. And the upsides, because everyone talks about how they're going to save lives from robotaxis, are really not proven. I have a story coming out soon, sort of clarifying questions around robotaxi safety, because I frankly think that there's been a very strategic and well thought out PR campaign to sort of confuse people into thinking we know more about robotaxi safety than we do. So this is, to me, by far the most overhyped transportation technology of 2025.
Yeah, that makes sense that you'd say that. So I created a list of other ones. I thought that might be yours. So the AI traffic signals is one. The curb management apps was another. But I thought I'd do something a little bit simpler. The flashing beacons that they're putting on unsignalized crosswalks on arterials that are like 45 or 50 miles per hour. Those are probably the most annoying. It's not even a great technology, but I mean, they're legitimizing crossings that really should not exist without the whole street being completely redesigned. And they think we can just throw out that crappy technology and fix it. And no, it just annoys me so much.
What are these are called what again? What's the name of it?
What RRFBs, the rapid flashing beacon type designs.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was. Yeah, I've heard a lot of controversy around them. So that's one. Maybe we can talk more about that in a future episode. I don't know enough to have a strong opinion yet, but people get very annoyed.
Well, it reduces, I mean, the chance of a driver stopping for you if it's just the crosswalk and no lights, whatever, or like, slim to none, right? So this increases it, but it's still like a 50-50 shot even with those beacons. It's not improving it to the point that it makes a ton of sense. Like it's better than what was there, but it's still disgusting that we think that's going to solve the problem.
That's fair. What's your favorite technology then?
Of the year? I don't know. That's a good question.
Isn't that our next category?
Well, I think what's the next one is the most promising but uncertain.
Yeah, most promising but uncertain. Fair enough. Yeah.
So the one I thought about, so I don't know, this, one of the things I hate to see is when cities come up with something that is good, that works, and they don't double down on it.
Okay.
And like Larimer Square, sort of right over my shoulder. Like when I first got to Denver, it was the one street in downtown that had been reduced from like 4 lanes of one-way traffic to 2. And it had become sort of a great place where like people loved. And they never thought to replicate it anywhere else in downtown. It's like, oh my God, like what the hell's happening? So the thing that I had in mind for this, and this might also be because I was reading the new War on Cars book last week. I know you read that as well. Do you remember that chapter towards the end where they talk about Groningen, the Netherlands, where that city has the quadrants? So in Denver, like they're doing a lot of things like diverters. So we have a grid network. You put this diverter in the middle, and bikes and pedestrians can still permeate through that, but cars cannot. So cars have to kind of meander somewhere else.
Yeah.
The way that Groningen does it is they split the city into 4 quadrants. And cars can come into any quadrant, but they can't cross from one to the other. So it's like turning the whole city into this diverter. In order to go from one quadrant to the other, you kind of have to backtrack out, go out to the ring road or something, and then work your way around. But bikes and peds have free reign within the middle.
It's kind of like a super block, isn't it?
It's kind of like the super block, but kind of bigger scale. Like super block is kind of the diverter supersized, and this is like the whole thing on steroids. So they talk about the city of Ghent in Belgium that did a similar thing much more recently, because the Netherlands city had done it like in the 70s, and nobody thought to replicate it, even though they had tons of things that went well after doing it. Ghent did it like in 2017, and they've seen the same benefits. Like it's doing so much good. So I don't know. It still feels unproven to some extent, uncertain to some extent. But I don't know. I found it an interesting innovation that I would like to see more of.
Interesting. I like that you went away from technology and choosing a promising innovation.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good.
More my style. But what do you have?
I've got a technology. It's one. You ever heard of DADS? Are you familiar with this?
That's what I was told when I was a young engineer to do in public meetings, like decide.
No,
announce and defend.
No, nothing to do with that. No, right. It stands in this case for driver alcohol detection system, and it is. Is
that the one with the steering wheel?
Yeah, it could be. There's a couple ways of doing it. One is based on ambient air when you're sitting in front in the driver's seat. One is based on touch on the steering wheel. But the idea is that you have sensors that can accurately detect whether the driver is inebriated and will not operate the vehicle if they are. It's been under development for a number of years with support from auto manufacturers as well as some safety advocates and some academic researchers. And I find the idea really interesting. I mean, drunk driving is involved with about a third of all crash fatalities in the US. So we're talking like 13,000 plus lives per year. Tremendous potential upside. As you might imagine, there's been a lot of pushback from not just the alcohol industry, but also the restaurant and bar industry, which says, oh, well, we can't make, it's not accurate enough, blah, 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 blah. So we'll see how this unfolds. I don't expect it to be deployed next year in any sort of a substantial way, but I do think the whole approach is very intriguing, and it could have a lot of potential upside if it works reliably, and we'll see. But it is one that I continue to be very intrigued by, partly because happily, it's not really partisan. This feels like it's got support from some groups that conservatives often like and some that liberals often like. So we'll see how it plays out.
That's great. And I think that would be something that is useful. Like I remember when Gmail first came out, there was like a setting that I had turned on that it makes you do like 2 math problems before sending an email, like after midnight or something, to make sure you're not drunk.
Yeah.
And we don't do anything even close to that with a car. Like, and that's much more dangerous.
Yeah, no, I think it makes a lot of sense. It's interesting for that. We could maybe go deeper into this in a future episode. There's an alternative way of thinking about the whole problem, which is using a driver monitoring system that basically detects if the driver is in any way incapacitated because they're fatigued or drunk or high or something else, which might actually be a more universal solution for this, because drunk driving alone is not the only problem. But DADS has been in development for years, and I do hope we get something real out of it.
All right. I love it. All right. The next category is the year in transportation stories. Is that correct? Yeah.
Yes.
So the first one was the most undercovered transportation story of the year.
Yeah, well, this whole category is sort of near and dear for me since I wrote 40 plus articles this year about various things. So,
And I think one of your corners is on covering undercovered stories.
yeah, that's something I try to do. It's true. And, this is one that I touched on, but I frankly would like to see more coverage on, which is the sort of backlash against urbanist reforms on both sides of the Atlantic, in Europe as well as in the US. We talked about Houston already, but you can see it as well in Boston and Berlin and Toronto and Barcelona and a number of other cities where there's been a pause, if not an actual backpedaling in bike lane development and road diets. Actually, it's here in DC where I live too. It's apparent. And I'd like to see more. I think this is hugely important for the future of our cities. And I'd like to see more coverage of understanding sort of where this is coming from, why it's happening now, and also where it's not happening. Like, what are the cities that are continuing to move forward, like London potentially, and what are they doing differently, if anything? Because those could be lessons that'd be very powerful elsewhere. That's the story I'd like to see more attention come to.
I jotted that down as well, the rollback of the various things we've done to try to make streets safer. But then I thought, the thing I could answer for this category this year and probably every year is just road safety. Like every year, road safety is something that we don't cover enough.
I feel like, do you think we're covering road safety more this year than in previous years, or the same as ever?
It feels the same. Like it's still, maybe there's more pushback when you get those like terrible headlines that say that makes it feel like an autonomous car killed a pedestrian because they were wearing dark clothes, but it's not much better.
And it's interesting. I feel like there's more awareness in like local newspaper offices, like the metro sections, such as they exist anymore, that you can't just sort of blame the victims' dark clothes or whatever when they're struck. Right.
There's more pushback when that happens. People get mad. I think they know.
There's more awareness of it. Yeah. The Washington Post just did a really big deep dive on why Vision Zero isn't working well. Shout out to Rachel, who is the main author on that. I feel like there's like been incremental progress in the media coverage of safety, but you're right. I mean, look at how much attention we give to crime and contrast that with what are the numbers this year? Did more people die in homicide than or gun violence than from traffic deaths this year? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Only in the last couple of years has gun deaths overtaken road deaths, and historically for the last 100 years it's been the opposite. So, they're neck and neck trying to see who wins. We'll see.
It's a perennial pick. Fair enough.
All right, on the other end of the spectrum, the most overblown transportation story of the year.
Transit safety. So many frickin' stories about whether or not public transportation is safe or not. Such a stupid, dumb, useless, counterproductive narrative. It's because of Trump and Duffy, but it's actually had real consequences because they're basically hyping on this to beat up on blue cities. But it's had real consequences because it has led some people to be afraid of taking transit, which they shouldn't be, because transit is much, much safer than driving, frankly, when you look at the risks of being in a crash, as we've talked about in previous episodes.
Yes, we have.
But I think even broader than that, the reason why I really hate this story is that it implies that it's somehow transit agencies' responsibility to fight crime. And that is a societal problem. It is not something that transit agencies have within their power to do anything about. If you want to complain about crime, fine. Then talk about issues related to the criminal justice system and the police. Don't dump this onto transit. So this is the story I think is massively overblown and dangerous.
Yeah, and we had a really good discussion about that on some previous episode. It does feel like there were definitely some high-profile incidents that helped push this to the forefront of a lot of that stuff. But it feels a little bit like, when they started putting missing kids on milk cartons. Like the problem wasn't any bigger than it was previously, but it was talked about a lot more. So parents were all of a sudden scared of their kids being taken when they're going for walks or for biking. And it feels similar with this, that people are scared because it's so much in the news, not because it's any worse or better than it was before.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, so mine, all the stories saying that bike lanes are killing downtowns.
Have there been that many stories of that? I think I missed it. If that's
Maybe people send them to me. Like I see them from time to time. Maybe they're more sort of the local stories that people are complaining about how downtowns are dying because of the bike lanes. But obviously the struggles of downtowns are a lot about other things like office vacancies and remote work and housing shortages and like other, macroeconomic shifts. To blame them on bike lanes is crazy, especially when all the research supports that they actually help local businesses and all that kind of stuff. So those always kind of drive me crazy.
I can understand why. Those are perennially dumb stories, frankly.
They are indeed. All right. So what was the worst transportation take you saw this year? I think I can guess yours in this one, no?
I think you probably know it. What am I going to say?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
That New York Times AV doctor guy.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. That guy just pissed me off. So this was, I don't remember his name. It's not important, but about 10 days ago, I think I've already ranted about him on the last episode.
Yeah, we talked about it a little bit last time.
The high point is it's a guy who's a venture capitalist and a neurosurgeon who declared a public health emergency that we scale robotaxis as quickly as possible. He actually went so far as to say it's sort of like a sort of like in public health, you sometimes do you do tests to see if interventions will save lives, but you will pause or end the test early if they save so many lives that you must just spread the good news as quickly as possible, which is a sort of mind-blowingly terrible way of thinking about robotaxis, where we really they just for lots of reasons. One of which is they keep updating their software. So if Waymo was, I'm saying they were, but if they were really safe last week, they could be really dangerous next week. And the last thing we should be doing is just throwing open the barn door and saying, let's just scale them as quickly as possible because they've already proven to be a safety solution. I have a whole story coming out soon about this, so I'm not going to keep going further, but I found that story and the sort of like omniscient didactic tone of the writer to be not my favorite. So that's what I'm going to give it to. Over to you.
To say the least. So mine was one that we now have evidence that it's a freezing cold take, is all the stories basically suggesting that congestion pricing is going to destroy New York City.
Oh, good call. Yeah, that's definitely true.
There was a ton of those, and they listed all the Armageddons that were going to happen with congestion pricing. As far as I can tell, none of them have come to fruition.
The pedestrian counts are up south of 60th Street in Manhattan.
Yes. I don't think we even need to talk about that one any more than that. So
my favorite fear there was Kathy Hochul. This is before she finally got behind congestion pricing, like a year and a half ago. She was saying, oh, well, the real problem is like the diners in Manhattan are going to suffer because people won't drive in from New Jersey, where New Jersey actually has the highest per capita rate of diners in the whole freaking country. It was spectacular. So yes, no, that's a good call, and I agree with you. All right. Let's talk. Now we can talk about positive things. Yeah, I'm excited about part 4. Go ahead. What is it?
So what is the favorite thing you've read this year about transportation? So a book, whether it's research or an article.
So I have a lot of things I could offer here, and I'm actually going to do like a Blue Sky post about my 5 favorite books of the year. They're transportation related, and I will mention one of them in a minute for the next
Just
question.
like Obama, huh?
Just like Obama. I get compared to him a lot, actually. Yeah. But I'm actually going to mention a story a research paper I really liked.
Okay.
And it was published by a group from USDOT and the Volpe Center, which is a transportation research center, as well as the Insurance Institute of Highway Safety. And the title of it is Longitudinal Analysis of Forward Blind Zone Changes in Popular Vehicle Models from 1997 to 2023. That really rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? It was published in SAE International Journal of Transportation Safety. Why is this a good paper? It asked a good question. And that to me goes a long, long way. What the researchers did here is they basically looked at the evolution of vehicle models, like, for example, the Honda Civic or whatever, over a 26-year period, and just evaluated the blind zones as the vehicle model changed, as it got taller, as it got wider, as the side mirror moved. And what's fascinating is you can actually see on pickups, for example, that as they get longer, the side mirror has to get bigger to be able to see behind the car, and the mirror patch gets bigger. As they get taller, the blind zone gets bigger, and also the A-pillar gets wider. And it's just there's a great image in this paper, which I hope people will look at. It really, I think, shows in intuitive ways how car bloat is worsening visibility in ways that endanger people outside the car, but also just frustrate drivers because they just can't see as well through direct vision. So I just want to credit the authors who, there's too many of them to name, but if they're listening, they'll know it. You guys asked a really great question, and I think you really contributed to the discourse because I saw a bunch of stories that cited this paper afterwards, including one of mine, and I was happy to see it published.
Yeah, we've talked about the embiggening of the A-pillars. We've talked about that story where the kids are sitting out in front of the
a bunch of stories like that. Yeah,
the Cadillac Escalade SUV from India. Yeah, I saw the same report or research paper, and yeah, no, it's a good choice right there. So my choice in this category, I was reading the Life After the Cars book last week, which is great. I also read Overbuilt by Eric Guerrera, I loved, and you mentioned Veronica Davis earlier today. I loved her book, Inclusive Transportation, although I might have read that one late last year instead of early this year.
Yeah, it didn't come out this year, yeah.
No, I waited till after I was totally done with my book to read all that stuff, so I was catching up on books like hers, and hers was a great one. But the best thing I read on transportation was Donald Shoup's chapter, the first chapter in the Shoup Doctrine. It's a recent book that came out. He wrote the first chapter. I didn't read it till obviously after he died. So I don't know, it just felt a little bit magical to kind of read his summary of his life's work in that one chapter. And the rest of the chapters of the book are written by
this is about
authors.
Parking. For those who may not know, it's about parking.
This is about parking policy. Yes. So that chapter, it made me happy to see how far things have come, and to let him see his life's work sort of making a difference. So that it felt good.
Yeah, I think Shoup is as close as the urbanist crowd comes these days to sort of having a hero or a saint. Yeah, kind of.
Of parking.
Yeah. I've never heard a bad word spoken about him, honestly.
Well, and thank goodness there's people like Tony Jordan trying to take his legacy and put it into practice. That is an amazing stuff that they're doing. So yeah, that was mine. All right, so the second category here is the research or the idea that most changed how you think this year.
So I'm going to give credit to a book here. I'm going to hold it up. It's called, there we go, More and More and More by, forgive me for mispronouncing this French name, Jean-Baptiste Fresseau. Jean-Baptiste Fresseau, More and More and More. The subtitle is An All-Consuming History of Energy. Do you know about this book, Wes?
No, not at all.
It came out in French a year and a half ago, and it was published in English this year. And it's basically, he's an energy historian, and it really challenged my thinking and continues to, frankly. But his thesis, which is argued forcefully and with a trove of evidence, is that the idea of an energy transition is BS. Doesn't happen. Hasn't happened in history. It's not going to happen in the future. And as an example, he cites the emergence of the automobile. And you and I think of the automobile probably as contributing to the surge in oil as an energy source. But he actually notes that it wasn't that wood and coal went down as oil rose. In fact, the car is an example of a major output that actually increased total consumption of wood and coal. The coal was needed to fire the forges to make steel, and wood was used in paneling. And you actually just saw more of coal and wood produced needed along with oil as cars really emerged and as oil really caught on. So his thesis is the only real path out for energy policy is to consume less. And that is a very unpopular position. It's a painful policy prescription. But his argument is that we are allowing the fossil fuel industry to sell us a bag of goods with the idea of an energy transition. It's BS. If we do electrify, we're just going to keep using oil, gas, and all that stuff anyway. I know it's a controversial position, but it is one that was very fresh to me. And it's one that I continue to think about and frankly continues to really trouble me. So I'm sure there are people listening who have strong takes on this, and I welcome your feedback. But if nothing else, I learned about this book, by the way, through a very complimentary review in The Economist. I think it really challenged me and some of the assumptions that I have baked into my own mind about energy and transportation.
That's a really interesting choice. I had not thought about that too much, but it does make sense. So yeah, we'll have to hit on that in a future episode.
I worry I don't know enough to even critique it yet. But
yeah.
That's part of why you read a book sometimes, is to push yourself, and this one continues to.
So for this category, I had a hard time narrowing it down. There's a few things I like, but the one I ended up settling on was I was reading through a lot of the research on, like, we talked about this a little bit in our podcast previously too, but on noise pollution and the public health outcomes from that. Because I think I've long known that, noise from cars is annoying, but like the actual research that has shown real health impacts is just getting longer and longer, like hypertension, heart disease, strokes, heart attacks, cardiovascular mortality. Like it's like small increases in just ambient noise from traffic. It's like 5 to 10% increases in like risk of death, like poor sleep. And it's like not psychological. It's like physiological. I don't know. So like that research, and the fact that the average urban arterial has like higher noise levels than the World Health Organization recommends for this, like, it's like, oh my God, like this is something that we need to take more seriously.
Yeah, I wrote about road noise a couple of years ago, 3 years ago, and it was so striking how few researchers there were who specialize in it. It really sort of falls in this gap between public health and urban planning and transportation engineering. And for that reason, I think it's been a neglected field. I hope that changes.
All right. So part 5, looking ahead. What are you most curious about in transportation in 2026?
Oh, I think there's 2 big questions I'll be watching and I'm very interested in. First of all is what next for congestion pricing? It's worked in Manhattan, and I know that there's been conversations and nascent efforts to consider emulating it in Boston and Seattle and Chicago and some other cities. There's been discussions here in DC where I live. And I'm very interested to see if there is real momentum behind that. I hope there will be. I don't know. The other one I'm very interested in is robotaxis. And specifically, I am interested to see if robotaxi companies are going to get out over their skis and something terrible is going to happen, because they being Waymo and Tesla, but also Zoox to an extent, are under a lot of pressure to scale because of their investors. And are they going to be a little too aggressive, be a little too eager to deploy a little too fast, cutting a few too many corners, and something catastrophic happens? I hope it doesn't. But I worry that the odds of that happening are rising, and I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
So I wrote down, like, David might say this, David might say this, and you said both of those. So you
know me so well, Wes. Oh my God. It's like we do a podcast together.
Yeah, so I had to come up with like a third entree into this discussion. So I was wondering, curious whether U.S. cities will finally accept like less traffic as a legitimate metric for success.
No.
Not even
they're
one
not
city?
No,
One
they're not
city?
going to do that. No, it's too embedded. I'm sorry. Like, they should. I agree with you, but I think you're tilting at windmills here right now.
You don't think there'll be one city that will say our goal is to reduce driving?
No, I don't. Not right now. The climate movement has major headways in the U.S. and in Europe too. No, I don't. I would like it to be otherwise, Wes, but I just want to be honest with you. No.
Well, that is why I did not put this under my prediction category, because I don't think it's going to happen. But I'm curious if somebody will.
You can be curious, yeah. I mean, I'm curious if someone gives me $1 million tomorrow because they like me. I'm curious. It's not going to happen, but I'm sure I'm curious.
I do like you, man, but I don't have $1 million to send your way.
Give it time. Maybe the year after.
All right. So related to that, we'll make a prediction for 2026, a transportation prediction.
I think the American auto sector is going to run into major headways next year, major problems. I think that the overall U.S. economy is flirting with a recession, which is going to seriously depress a durable good demand for durable goods like automobiles. But I also think that the American automakers are kind of caught. They've got Trump saying, "Oh, don't worry about electric vehicles," but the rest of the world is shifting in that direction, whether the U.S. automakers like it or not. And at the same time, too, they're realizing that if the economy is not so great, or just even if the economy is good, they just can't keep churning out $80,000 pickups and expecting the average American household to keep gobbling it up. They're going to need to find ways of building cheaper, probably smaller cars. And I'm not sure they know how to do it. I'm not sure the unions will allow them the space to do it. And I worry next year could be pretty ugly for those who are in executive roles at U.S. automakers.
Yeah, man, I hear that.
I didn't even mention the tariffs. Tariffs are a mess too. Sorry, go ahead.
And all those mini Chinese cars that might be coming over in the near future.
Well, or at least taking away adjacent markets like Canada, Mexico, what have you. This is not a great time, I think, next year to be working for GM or whatever.
So for this one, I wanted to say something like we would finally get rid of the letter grades that go along with level of service, but I don't think that's going to happen. At least in 2026. It'll happen someday. But I think my prediction is there will be some, hopefully, U.S. transportation agency that will conclude that its traffic models are systematically overestimating the benefits of expanding capacity and will cancel a widening project.
Cancel a highway widening. You think we will see a major cancellation of a highway widening project?
This is still bordering on hopeful more than.
I mean, if that happens, Wes, I think that the FHWA, Federal Highway Administration under President Trump, is going to say you can't do that.
You can't. You have to take our money.
Yeah, you have to take our money for highway expansions. I'm not kidding. I think that that's actually what would happen if like Colorado DOT or I don't know, WashDOT in Washington State, one of the more progressive state DOTs, tried to do that. I think that literally Trump would pick a fight.
I would love to see it.
We'll see. I hope. I mean, I would like to see it happen too, but I guess we'll find out next year.
All right. So we've made it to rail drinks. Starting here, looking back at your list of rail drinks, what was your favorite one you had this year?
So this year, I feel like I discovered a new beloved beverage. It is vermouth. I didn't know how much I like sweet vermouth. Thank you, Barcelona, or Barcelona, as my wife would say, for introducing me to a beverage I didn't know how much I enjoyed. So I had that a little while ago. And actually that bottle is now gone after I brought it in Barcelona. But that was my favorite beverage that we've had.
My favorite goes back to the first episode where I had my Ron Swanson, Nick Offerman Lagavulin whiskey. That's
I was like, it has to be a whiskey drinks. For you. You're such a whiskey supremacist. It'd be weird if you didn't.
Yeah, that I mean, looking back at the list of drinks, I was like, oh, no, that was my favorite. I enjoyed that one, and I will enjoy it probably again in the future.
I respect it.
All right, so our extravaganza is closing in on an hour here, so it has gone a little longer than most episodes.
Well, we have to have a drink, right? Are we going to have
to have our final rail drink of the year.
We have to have our final rail drink of the year, and then there'll be a couple little announcements afterwards, so don't go away yet. I'm just having a couple ice cubes in mine.
So I'll go first then.
Yeah, go ahead.
I have Fat Tire Ale.
I'm familiar with it.
Everyone is. This is sort of the original, at least from my knowledge, bike-related beer from New Belgium. It's a company up in Fort Collins. and it is a tasty beer. So that's what I have today.
Even though you're supporting that, even though fat tires are now creating all these problems with bike safety in Europe and America, right? They don't belong in the bike lanes, blah, 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 blah. You know what I'm talking about?
Well, fat tires are different from the e-bikes. That's a different sort of issue, right?
The guy who runs transportation in Amsterdam was talking my ear off a little while ago about how these fat tire bikes are creating mayhem on the bike lanes. True story. We could talk about that in a future episode. But for me, I'm back to vermouth. This is another bottle I got in Barcelona. It is smoked red vermouth from Dos Deus Origins. And it's a particularly sort of smoky vermouth. I have it with the green olive and orange, like my Barcelona friends told me to drink, and I'm going to do it the right way. So cheers.
Very nice. Cheers.
So, and here we are again. Should I wrap us, or do you want to?
Yeah, go ahead. When will we be back?
We'll be back in 2026, early 2026, probably the first couple days. TBD on exact date. We'll follow us on Blue Sky if you want to find. I'm not sure if it's going to be recorded or live. We'll figure that out. But also, Wes, you're coming to DC, my city, for Transportation Research Board in January, right?
I am indeed.
January 10th, I think it's when it starts, 10th or 11th, something like that.
Yeah, it used to be like, 12 to 15,000 of my closest friends show up in DC for a giant transportation conference. There'll be a lot fewer people there this year for a lot of reasons we can probably talk about later.
We'll see. You say, I don't know. Well, we're going to talk about that probably in the next episode. I'm not sure that's going to be the case, but maybe you're right.
At least in my circle, I'd say at least 75% of the people I've talked to said they're not coming.
But you're coming, and I'll be there.
I am coming. Yeah.
So you heard it here first. We may do an in-person Rail Drinks at a date and location TBD, where you can come hang out with Wes and me. So again, feel free to either follow us on Blue Sky, Look Both Ways Pod, because Look Both Ways Podcast, actually, I think, on Blue Sky, or email us, lookbothwayspod@gmail.com. We will share more information about that probably in the next episode. But also feel free to just give us feedback, and we'll go back to having mailbag questions and the like. Feel free to share with us your transportation questions at lookbothwayspod@gmail.com. You can find me at davidzipper.com. I've got a newsletter I send out, and I'm always happy to hear from fans and haters alike. And Wes is not. He likes to hide. Right. So we won't even go there. What did I forget? Yeah, go ahead.
I am on Blue Sky. That does exist. That's about it, though. Yeah.
That is true. Did I leave off anything? Anything else we should be saying?
I think that Rail Drinks will likely be the Tuesday of TRB week and like a happy hour type thing. So hopefully that comes together. We'll see what happens, but I'm looking forward to it.
That'll be fun. Definitely. And we love getting the feedback from you guys. Keep it coming in. Always a pleasure to hear from you, and hopefully get to meet some of you who'll be in town for TRB in DC next month. But until then, happy early New Year. Have a great holiday to everyone, and stay safe.
And I hope you enjoyed our end of year extravaganza. I sure did.
Absolutely. And thank you for joining us, really, this first, I guess, year for 6 months of Look Both Ways. But I know Wes and I are both excited about the adventures to come. Cheers.